Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Today's guest sits right at the intersection of identity, leadership, and redefining success on your own terms. Morgan Jones is a former professional basketball player turned visionary speaker and founder of Athletes to Visionaries, which is a platform helping athletes, leaders, and high performers think beyond performance and into long-term impact. From being a McDonald's All-American to competing in the NCAA Elite Eight and playing professional basketball in Puerto Rico, Morgan built her foundation on the court. But like many high-level achieving women, the real work began when the game ended, when she had to redefine who she was beyond the role that she was known for. Through Athletes to Visionaries, Morgan now helps athletes, parents, coaches, and organizations move from performance-driven mindsets to purpose-driven leadership. She's partnered with organizations like the WNBA, Nike, Google, Pepsi, and USA Basketball to build cultures rooted in clarity, trust, and sustainable growth. I'm really thrilled for today's conversation because while Morgan's background is in elite sports, what we're really talking about is identity, ownership, and building impact beyond the title. Hi, ladies. Welcome back to Talk Wealthy to Me. Today, I am so pleased to be joined by Morgan. Morgan, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I think that your story is going to be so great for people to hear. You know, we have talked to prior athletes in the past, and you guys just are built so differently. You are exceptional at a lot of the things that compound and make people successful in multiple ways in life, not just sports. So I'm so excited to hear about that. But before we dive into everything, tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm from Orlando, Florida, born and raised. And I picked basketball as like my vehicle, if you will, through the navigation of, two parents, biracial. They didn't have college degrees, so they were just like, how do we get our daughter to college? And so basketball was my vehicle, and in pursuit of that and just the determination, the focus, and the environment that sport creates, I was able to become a top player in the country and went on to play in college and had over 100 Division I scholarship offers and played professionally and did the whole journey. And so now I get the opportunity to really help athletes understand their process and transform their thinking of not just being like one-dimensional athlete, which often can happen when your identity is so tied up in one thing, and helping them really expand their scope of what's possible for them and become visionaries. So I do that through my company, The Vision Box, and my podcast, Athletes to Visionaries.
I love it. Okay, so tell us about the box.
Yeah. So the box was really formed from the method and the thinking that I used when I got done playing sport, and I thought I was on top of the world for a minute, and literally everything collapsed because the structure was no longer there. The teammates cheering you on, the fans, the buzz beater, the scoreboard, nothing.
Excitement, adrenaline, all
was gone. Yeah. So it felt like I was almost starting life from like a blank canvas, if you will. And I was introduced to some different methods, and one specific tool was a vision board. And at first I was like, a vision board? I'm an athlete. Like, what? How do you measure this thing? You can't do this. No metrics in this. But, what I found is it's really the process of helping your subconscious mind really go after the things that you desire for your life. And I'm sure like women that watch this podcast probably have one just around their finances, which we probably all should, you know?
Yeah.
But so that's one aspect of the vision box. So it's quite literally like a kit. And inside of it, it has 4 different exercises to really help you like transform your thinking and what's possible for life.
Wow.
Yeah, we've worked with top sports organizations. I've worked with Google and WNBA and a lot of
Pepsi,
big organizations, right? Pepsi, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, because it's really a method of thinking. And now more than ever, adults and people are just looking for like meaning and purpose and direction. And they're like, where do I start? And the vision box gives them opportunity to sit down, sit down for a second, get off your phone, take a breath, and let's take some time to really imagine and chart out a path forward for you that feels aligned.
Oh, my word. Well, yes to the vision board. And, some people even lean into that more than others. Yep. And I think it's fun, but giving yourself the permission to dream without restraint.
Yeah.
It's amazing what that can do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. As an athlete, you're chasing a metric, a thing, a win, a title, a scholarship. But in the real world, especially for entrepreneurs and a lot of people that are just, going to work every single day, working really hard, but they're building a career and not a company.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have to really chase? So I love that you are capturing that and giving people the permission to figure it out and not having it be specific to an industry or a sport or a type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So it works for everybody. And take us back. So how did that transition work? So you were an athlete. You obviously were very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't.
Yeah.
How was it transitioning into the life you're now? Being an entrepreneur, are a lot of the same things applicable?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like mindset and, consistency.
Yeah. We definitely call it, we call our transferable skills. Like that's what they teach us as athletes. Like you just use your transferable skills. And so when I wrapped up playing, it was certainly a point of a lot of athletes kind of leave sport in their own way, or maybe not. Some get hurt and they have to start fizzling out. Some get cut where then there's no other opportunity. And then some choose. And obviously, if you have all three, the most empowering one is to choose.
Yeah.
And so when I was playing in Puerto Rico professionally, I chose to leave sport. I felt as though it just was not, the space for me anymore. I felt like the ceiling was just really close in terms of money and how much we could make at that time. So I was like, let's just kind of see what's next. And so, and I really got tired of I love you when you're doing good. I hate you when you don't. I'm like, I'm over that. I've done that. I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. So took the first step and retired. And my first job was in sales. I was a luxury leasing consultant.
Okay.
And that job, if you will, was it was fun because it was competitive. I loved the thought of a family or a couple or a new employee in the area, what have you, come in and be like, I need a new home and I'm just looking. And then for me to take them on this journey. Know all the competitors in the area and the whole 9 yards. So I loved the sales aspect of that, and then the commission based, if you will. So that's really good when women are figuring out, well, what do I do? Well, you want to be, if you're driven and you find that you want to go for it, So I did sales, and then it still was absent of meaning, and just still didn't feel fulfilled. There was still a massive hole that I was trying to fill. And so I went through a spiritual transformation, if you will, where I really started asking some of those difficult questions to yourself of why am I here? What purpose and value can I provide people's lives? What was that sport, whole 20 years I put into that? How can I extract some meaning and then help other people? So in doing that, one, the vision box was born in that phase, but also I started serving. So I'm big on there's a job you do, but then there's a service mindset and heart that will bring in so much joy through small, simple interactions that make everything worth it. And so I started serving and speaking, and then there was a moment when I knew I was kind of good at this speaking thing because I was in a workshop and I was bringing the audience through one of my activities, and they started crying. And so it's probably oh God, crying, that's not good. Well, to me, it's I literally base the measurement of what I do when I speak to audiences or I do workshops or retreats is, can I touch a place within them that unlocks something that's just been tucked away? And if I can get that out, that's a form of cracking
the
down shell and getting more into the real root of what you're here to express to the world. So when she was emotional. I was like, oh wow, I'm really like off the surface with them, and I'm like in their hearts right now. And that really started being like this guiding light, if you will. Like each time I spoke, I'd get these little signals of like, this is really a path. Now, how do you monetize it? And that came after.
Well, and it goes back to impact. So whenever any, women, there's so much guilt around, I'm making more. When is enough enough? We're taught, we need to give away, and all of it that comes with success. And I think that when you change it to impact, it allows you to create an impact. What is that? Then you allow yourself to receive more and to go after more. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So, like impact, contribution, I think that's interesting. So like, what have you seen? I mean, let me flip this really quick in terms of the narrative around the women and overgiving and overserving to borderline exhaustion. Like how do you navigate that?
All of the things. So sometimes it's tied to them being moms.
Yeah.
For example, I really want this thing to happen, but I feel guilty. I should be doing something for my kids, or I'm going to go do this thing for my career or my business, and it's taking me away from the kids. So I feel guilty. I shouldn't. So, and that admittedly is something that I struggled with, years ago when I really started traveling and going to different speaking engagements. And then I did the same thing that I just said to you. I thought, by me doing this and being gone for 2 days, it sucks. But I'm not going to be guilty because it is going to allow me to have a better toolbox to serve the people that I care about, specifically my children, but also, friends, neighbors, whoever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the biggest thing, is giving women permission to chase something without feeling like they're being too much or greedy or you have enough. And, think about it. It's so easy for us on the outside when we see somebody that has success to say, well, don't they have enough? Just think if Oprah decided she could end world hunger or whatever it is. We're all very comfortable kind of placing judgment on people that have money with how they should spend it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just natural. And then we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that when you can give people the tools, the vision that goes deeper than surface level, that's where things change. And, even sitting down and talking about money with people and saying, what do you want? Well, I want to make sure I can retire and never outlive my money. And I want to make sure that my kids, have a better start than I did. And that would be fine. And I think that that's the difference with men in this world versus women, because we're so emotionally driven. I always ask more questions, but why is that important to you? Yeah. Instead of just breezing past it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, that why is it. Once you can get to the core of the why, it's like the rest can start to come
to fruition. Yeah. Because, and as moms, when someone asks what your why is, you almost feel like you have to say, well, it's my kids.
Yeah.
And that's great. But why?
Yep.
Dig it. Dig deeper.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dig it. Why? It's like the why times 3. If you why something 3 times, eventually you'll get to the root. And then there's like more truth right there. Love that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And when you are engaging with someone, either on a big scale or one-on-one, and you can see and they get emotional, or you see the light bulb, or they respond by, actually, I was at something a week ago giving a talk to a group that was doing a vision board party.
Yeah.
And something I said, one of the women that was there started clapping, like, yes, girl. And that makes you feel so good because, like you said, then you know that they're getting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us from the very beginning, what was your relationship with money growing up? You referenced it a little bit about getting into colleges, using your sport as a vehicle. What was it like? What did you think that wealth or success looked like when it came to money?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you teach this so much, Michelle, of like, it's like such in the home when you first, like, that's where you learn all your narratives. Oh, yes. You don't even know you're learning them,
Sponges.
But you are.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, if I would have known that, right? But no, I think I grew up with neither one of my parents went to college.
Mm-hmm.
So they automatically had like a certain approach to the workplace in a way that's like, I just can't go anywhere and apply. So I have to make it happen. You know, I have to do this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom was an entrepreneur. She started a company, direct marketing mail company. And she built that up and then sold that for $2.5 million.
Wow.
That was my youth formative years. So I saw my mom, be able to take us on trips and, have the house that was 5,000 square feet and run an office. And she did her thing, right? I saw that live. Like that was a real thing.
How old were you then?
I was like middle school, probably elementary, middle school.
Okay.
And so I saw that. I saw like her work ethic, the way that she navigated rooms, the way that she spoke to people, made people feel, played such a big part in, like how I see myself now as an entrepreneur. On the flip side of that, I also saw my parents lose it all while I was still in my formative years. So like high school, my parents lost it all. We had been in 3 different homes bouncing around.
Wow.
We had like 4 cars. We had, 3 acres, the whole 9 yards. And then we went all the way down to like living with my grandparents. Couldn't pay. This all happened within those formative years. So for me,
2 extremes.
Very extreme. Very, very like chase after, the big client, you get it. And then you're just chasing the next one. And if you don't get it, it's okay. It'll come. But nothing ever like stable and consistent. No, like, oh, we have investments over here for this. No investment conversations, no money conversations. It was all about like service and, big thinking and not enough like practical foundation, structural, like money understanding.
The foundation.
Yep. And so I would say like I've learned that more now in my adulthood when I'm like, now I'm having success financially and I'm like, oh, I don't know how to really like manage this.
Well, it's hard because you have to honor what you saw for the good and the bad and then try and unwind what you're taking with you and what you're leaving.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us have similar stories where you see the hard work and what it can provide, but then if it's mismanaged, and then you're left to learn it on your own.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not repeating the same mistakes, which is incredibly difficult. And I think, though, I want to just say, hearing you say this, and I hope that all of you listening, if you're a mom and you're out there and you are working and building something and you're missing a soccer game or, a field trip at the school because you're building something big, your kids are noticing that and they're not looking at it like, man, they're going to remember watching you build something incredible. And I think that always is something to remember because it's hard in the moment.
Yeah.
But,
no, that's such a good point. And it's something I definitely carry with me as I raise my son now is I get to take him to school every morning and pick him up after school, right? But there will be times when I have to take a call and he's in the other room. And there'll be times when something comes up, like I'm in a negotiation and I'm a little more tense as a mom. Like I think even this past week, I was like noticing I was a little more short, a little bit more like another glass of wine, please, like those little nuances.
Yes, I do.
And I'm realizing it's because I'm carrying a big thing right now. But ultimately, I teach him through it. I talk to him about my clients. Like I show him like, okay, mommy created this. This is what they're paying me for it. And this is what we're challenged with. And sometimes he has no idea what I'm talking about. Intellectual property, stuff like that. He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm just going to talk to you about it. Language, don't worry about it. But this is work. Like mommy actually gets to create and travel and pour into people's life and get paid for it, And so I just kind of try to bring him along if I can.
That's great.
Let him sit in on like a call in the thing and tell him, hey, I'm going to go on to this call. Okay. It's taking about 15 minutes. I just want you to listen. Can you do that for me? Yes. And I will take a call in the car with him there on speaker. He can hear, how do I interact? How do I introduce myself?
How do you show up? How
do you show up? And it literally shapes the way they feel like what's possible. And now you're creating more, I don't know, what generational wealth, legacy, right? Whatever it may be.
That's amazing. Okay. So you built this, you figured it out, you saw the 2 extremes. And I think that does happen in the sports world a lot where, these people come up in their sport and they have probably maybe more money than they've ever had.
Yep.
And I've seen, and we've all heard so many stories of the ones that are very good stewards with that, and then the ones that are not. And like you said, the 4 cars, but no investments, big life goes with big paycheck. And you want to make sure that you're always monitoring that, you know? So what do you think needs to change in that space, specifically in the sports world? Do you guys get a lot of guidance? I feel like I've heard that there's some of that happening, but it's a lot. It can be talking about a lot of money. And then if you don't know, you can be taken advantage of, make poor decisions. And then all of that hard work was for nothing.
Yeah. It definitely, receiving the check that, like, when you make it, if you will, that amount of money a lot of times has never been in the family anywhere. So it's new to everyone. Sure. That's been on the journey with you. And there's a lot of promises that you may have made along the way of like, hey, like, I got you. Or they've been around just enough to be able to say, once you cash in, like, hey, I'm here. And I think that kind of becomes like a challenge because they start living outside their means. They're taking care of too many people. They don't want to let people down. And therefore, when they're done, everyone's depleted what they have. And then they're left with like the crumbs of then figuring out how to take what they do have and move it forward. So there is education around it now more than it was before. And, a big thing that we recommend is like living under your means. Yes, you're a multimillionaire, but that does not mean you need to go tomorrow and buy a big $1 million home, right? When you're the only one living in it too. Like, let's put this in perspective. And so I think there's more support now in those areas, but ultimately it comes back to your money story, I think, and your habits around money and like what you've seen, and then how obligated or responsible you feel for those that have supported you along the way.
So how did you do it? So when you left, you're in this career, you're chasing, commission, it's exciting. How did you make sure that you were getting the right things in place to change the narrative for your son and grandchildren and family and not repeating the same mistakes? What did you do first?
Unfortunately, I didn't do it right at all. I wasn't in that, that position. I didn't have the education around investments and, how to save, insurance, life insurance, all that stuff was like new to me. I didn't know any of that. So I can't fully speak on how I managed it, but now the athletes that I advise, we talk about those strategies of, when you start to get that, like, how much are you living off of? Are you living off of 40%? What are you doing? So we look at it from a percentage standpoint, but ultimately, I'm still figuring it out.
I mean, we all are.
I'm still very much figuring out, especially how much everything is changing right now. Cost of living is going up. Yep. The whole 9 yards. So I try to just come back to the principle of like living underneath my means, trying to keep life as simple as I can and consistent.
Well, and in learning that, I think something that people forget is if your fixed expenses are manageable, it allows for the fun stuff to be bigger. And if you can get to a place where you have passive income. So side hustles or, investments, dividends, real estate that can produce enough to supplement your fixed income. You're on easy street. But if you have a huge nut to crack every month because you have a house that you shouldn't, car payments that are $3,000 a month, whatever it is, that makes it harder. And that's something that's simple. And when I say we're all figuring it out, I think that as women, we are, and this is why I'm so passionate about these things, is because it's either, there's a lot of noise in the space of, okay, this is how you budget. This is how you pick a credit card. But what about the women who have, made some mistakes, now are doing well, and maybe in their mind, they either aren't at a place where they're, multimillionaires, and maybe they don't ever want to be there. But with what they have, what is next? And I think that that's where it's just changing the conversations that women are having and saying, who do you work with? What do you do? What is oil and gas that people talk about that help with taxes? How do I do that? And that's where it all begins, because we are all, everybody, we're all still figuring it out. And the boys are too. We just talk about it more.
No, I love that you're bringing that to awareness for women. Like, let's talk about it. I was on a panel a couple months ago, and it was with, NIL players, which is college players, right? And they're all getting paid to be at their universities now. And there was a question in the crowd of someone saying, so how much are you guys getting paid? And in a very kind way. It wasn't like that, like very intrusive, but one of the panelists who was one of the recipients of NIL and stuff, she was like, well, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about money. And it was all women. Like, we're not going to talk about that. And I stopped her. It was her event. I'm like, it came up in me. I'm like, no, this is the problem. I said, can I add to that? I think it's really important. Like, there was parents and everyone. I think it's really important that we start having this topic. We start talking about this discussion, because there is money in this space now. And let's not act like it's not something that we all want to know and we all have to have in order to thrive, and all can see that there's a possibility that this can really actually, take care of your daughter's financial means, as a future. And so I was like, I just challenge you. Can you actually share with them what you're making so that everyone can have that awareness of like what the possibility could be? And she was like, okay. So I'm making, and it was a good amount of money. And she was explaining how it came in and how does it work. And so it was just a massive, like you said, like, let's bring it to the table. Why are we hiding something that we know we need?
Okay. So not specific to her, but for anybody listening, how does it work? So I know how it works for their image and likeness and all of those things, but is it something that people can negotiate? Is it something that comes with performance metrics? How, and how much is it on average in the college space, would you say? Yeah.
So how it works right now, essentially what has happened is like the Players Association, if you will, like the athletes have realized that the colleges are making a lot of money off of them, right?
Yes.
And from media and sponsorships and partnerships. And so what they're saying is we want a more even cut of what you guys are getting paid, because we're actually the ones that are doing the work.
Yeah.
Thank you for this $100,000 scholarship that we can walk away with. Yes. Thank you. And also, a lot more here that we should be having a slice of this pie. Okay. So essentially that has happened, that has been exposed. And so now athletes are essentially getting paid like they're employees of the university.
Okay.
If you want to look at it like that. But there's a range. So if you're like the 10th man on the bench or the 10th girl on the bench, woman, you might get $50K a year at a D1 school. And then there's some players that are getting $400,000. So it's a wide range. A year.
And that's about the highest you think it goes?
Oh, no.
Or
so like the top player right now, like let's say one that goes to South Carolina, which is one of the top girls basketball programs, women's basketball programs, she's getting $1.2 million.
And it's given regardless of performance.
At the university, yeah. But obviously it's like because they're such a good player, that's why they're going. So it is based on performance. But like once they get to the school, there's not any performance metrics in place yet.
Where they're like, you got hurt or you're not doing well.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're transitioning it over into like basically like an employment model in a sense, right? So it's like if you're going to be contracted here and you're going to get paid $400,000-$500,000 a year, you have to hit these metrics just like you would if an employer was employing you, right? So that's not formulated yet, but that's in the process.
Because this is relatively new. It's only been like 5 years or less, right?
Or less, yeah. It changes like all the time.
Okay. But to your point, it is so important because imagine being an athlete coming in and knowing she's good enough to start demanding some numbers. But if she doesn't know what is even out there to ask for, she could be not getting what she deserves. Yeah. So I know it feels weird to talk about these things, but it is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where like I come in. So I work in the NIL women's basketball space, helping advise families and elite athletes on the process and the journey of like, how do brand deals come in? What are the expectations? How do you professionalize yourself? And then when the time comes, the middle person, which, we can call them an agent, right? It's like an agency, will help negotiate the value.
So like real life Jerry Maguire stuff.
Very real life. Very, very, yeah.
So what's next for your, the Vision Box?
Yeah. So, it's my goal, just like probably a lot of entrepreneurs who have had a physical product, truthfully, is like getting this into the AI digital space, because I really want so bad for as many young people and athletes and emerging leaders to have this tool to really be able to transform and transcend some of their perspective and their beliefs about who they can become and what they can do. And so working with my team right now to say, okay, we're in the AI age. We got to adapt entrepreneurship. You got to keep adapting. So that's where we're at with the vision box. But more importantly, it's continuing to be a pillar and a lighthouse, if you will, for women's basketball in this new NIL era and how to navigate it professionally with integrity and then with the long-term view in mind.
What do you think in building this amazing business? What skills from being an athlete do you think have helped you the most when you are now talking about being a business owner and an entrepreneur?
There's so many. So my number one, like when I was a player, my number one skill set that any of my coaches that have coached me and all my teammates will tell you is that I had incredible court vision. So court vision is essentially like I was able to see the pass before the pass. Okay. I was able to, as soon as I got the ball, my head would go up and I'd be able to like hit the person that's open like immediately, understand like where everyone's at on the court, great feel for the game. So I find that is actually a really transferable aspect of business because in my industry, my thinking is ahead of the trend. So like the industry kind of catches up to my thinking because I can see where it's going for athletes and parents and coaches and the complexity of this. That's one, but that's kind of loofy. Let's say from practicality is I'm very like, I'm competitive. Like I don't like fitting into a box. And so I know I have to live outside the box. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I'm competitive though, like with myself and my potential. It's very little about like other people. And it's more about like, Morgan, can you get to this level? Mm-hmm. Can you hit this number? Can you impact this many people?
Yeah.
So I'm very competitive, like with myself. I hold myself to a very high standard. And sometimes I have to remind myself to give myself grace for all of the women that are watching this that are very hard on themselves. Mm-hmm. Being excellent is such a balance of like the push and the pull. It's like you have to understand like you're pushing as hard as you can for your goals, but then you have to continue to come back to like pulling back, like having grace for yourself, like regrounding
so
yourself,
important.
Knowing that you are enough, like releasing and letting go of patterns, beliefs, people that are no longer serving you. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's a constant like back and forth that I hope every woman learns how to do that because we need to push right now. We are in a woman's movement.
We sure are.
Let's go, ladies. Let's go, right?
Nothing like the time we're in right now.
Nothing like it, you know? And also, like, we don't want to lose, like, what we're innately, like, wired to do and to be, which are nurturers, which are loving. We bring perspective. We bring warmth to rooms. And so if all we're doing is pushing all the time, then sometimes we can lose that part. So I think it's just a balance and
it's a balance for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that it gives anybody listening really good perspective because if someone isn't an athlete and you just see so many that leave their sport and then it's like there's a business they're starting. And I think if you don't understand how an athlete's mind works, you may think, oh, well, it's just because they're an athlete. The reality is they're going out and pursuing that stuff because there are so many similarities between the disciplines and the consistencies you have to keep as an athlete that business ownership and entrepreneurship thrive under. So it's like a natural progression a lot of the time. Yeah,
and if I can add to that too, because it is a natural progression and there is a different wiring with athletes because we've been wired for like this strategy, right? The next game, the next play. How are we all working together to accomplish this goal? Like that's constantly built into our fabric of who we are and how we operate. And so when it comes to business, a lot of that is about it. What's the goal here? Like, what are we trying to accomplish in this room? Like when we sat down for the podcast, I said, who's your audience, right? Yep. I want to know like, where do we want to focus this at, you know? And that's what athletes have is like the ability to focus in, to get tunnel vision and then create the strategy to hit the goal. That's what we do in sport.
What is the one thing that you are doing? Or maybe it's more than one thing, but how are you changing the narrative now that you're a mom for your son when it comes to money? I obviously letting him listen in on all of this is incredible. Yeah. But are you guys talking about money? Are you doing things that can support that? Mm-hmm. What are you doing to make sure that it's different for him?
Great question. I'm humble enough to know that I'm probably not going to be the one that fully can teach him all the principles of money, but I can, with all the resources that are out here now, put him in front of those who are doing that.
Yeah.
And so there's like little things that I'll do and whatnot. But I think the one thing that I really have enjoyed, and he enjoys too, is the School of Hard Knocks. Have you ever watched that guy that goes around?
Yes.
And he gets all these nuggets from billionaires.
It's so good.
We listen to it every morning before we go to school.
Oh, I love that.
And we just put it on and we drive to school and he hears it and we both learn, quite frankly. But I just want, with the age he's at, I just want him in the language. That's it. I just like want him exposure to the language and how different people think and like, where's the money? Everyone's saying AI. And so when I go back and I teach him, I say, hey, like, let's do an AI lesson here. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, he's like, why is that important? Well, that's where the industry's going, like he might not be getting that in school right now. So that's like one strategy that I use and it works.
It's
hopefully
incredible. And I think it's something that anyone listening can implement at some level or capacity that, interests them as well.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone of recording another podcast with a friend of mine, and she does a lot of work in the space of, mindset and becoming and all of that. And she told me yesterday that kids between the ages, I want to say she said, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm sorry, Tracy, but it's like up to the age of 8.
Yeah.
Their subconscious is operating at 100%, even if the child doesn't know it. So anything that they're being exposed to is kind of what they're taking as truth and reality. So no pressure, everybody. But when you talk about things like, oh, we're just never going to be good with money, or you know what, we work so hard and, things are expensive and it's hard.
Yeah.
But you can't let your money story be imposed on future generations because it will limit them.
I think that's really good because like it's like the mindfulness around the money story that you're projecting onto your child is like something that we all should be aware of because it's happening to us subconsciously. Like I when I was growing up, it was thrift stores all the time. Everybody's trying to find a deal all the time. Oh, 2 for 1. We got to go there. They got the $5 deal over here.
$2 Chuck wine at Trader Joe's, remember? Yeah.
All that. And how some of that can like trickle into your kids. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's just a balanced perspective of like how I teach my son about some of those things. It's like, yeah, you can go to McDonald's and it's $5 for a full meal, but like, what's that actually costing you on your body? Because this isn't good for you. I don't care how cute they make the logo in the commercial. And so, like, kind of teaching them kind of some contrast and stuff like that. But again, it's like, it's being mindful of like, what were you taught? And then what are you projecting onto your kid so that then you can find a more balanced approach to how they're understanding money and like what's of value and what's not.
Balance to everything, like the 80-20 rule, just doing what is the best decision most of the time and seeing the differences between the two and then empowering them to make their own choice.
Yeah.
As they get older, when they're under our roofs there,
Yes. That's so good.
Well, where can everyone follow along on this incredible journey that you're sharing?
Yeah. So Morgan Jones Vision on Instagram.
Okay.
Athletes to Visionaries on Instagram. Yep. All the stuff.
So we can find you anywhere. Yep. And I mean, I think that speaking to impact, if someone's listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I want to get young people or athletes in front of this woman and what she's building, like who is the perfect person to be impacted by your work?
Ooh, any emerging leaders and anyone that's feeling called to more. There's a transition phase that when you're going from being an autopilot of something you just get up, you do every day, it's predictable, it's stagnant, if you will, and you're ready to feel and become and do something different. I'm your girl.
Thank you for spending
you.
time with us. I know that I am taking a lot from this. I know that the listeners will too. And you have your own podcast. Remind us again what that is so anyone listening can go and subscribe.
Athletes to Visionaries Podcast.
All right, ladies. Well, as always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us. I know how precious it is. And as always, let's continue changing the way women think and feel about money together.